Welcome to our podcast. You're listening to Spring by Ixon at www.ixonmusic.com. Welcome to Why Complain When You Can Whine, making sense of the senseless. Three professional women attempting to make sense of toxic nonsense while drinking wine. I'm Dr. Jody Lorman, licensed clinical psychologist in the state of California. Therefore, anything that we discuss on this or any other podcast is for entertainment and psychoeducational purposes only. And tonight I am taking a walk on the wild side because I have like literally zero clue on how this is going to taste. This is a limited edition. It is actually, I should have had it last Friday because although you probably can't tell, it's green. And it's limited edition, the 19 Crimes Revolutionary Blend. And I looked it up on my app and they were talking about it and notes of this and notes of that. And I'm like, just tell me, is it dry? Is it sweet? Is it acidic? And it didn't give me that information. So it is a Cabernet. I opened it up and let it breathe and everything. And it smells good. So.
All right.
The last time I took a walk on the wild side and I didn't look to see the wine was when I got that sweet one. And I don't want to make that mistake again.
Jody, whose face is on that bottle? Because he looks like a psycho.
Yeah.
It is. My son asked me and I told him, and now I don't remember. And I'm going to have to turn on my flashlight because I can't even see because it's written in like gold lettering that does not do well in. It is.
Ooh.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Holy shit. My mistake. John Devoy.
All right.
John Devoy. This wine represents the celebration of the most outrageous prison escape in Australian history.
Ooh.
Cool.
Ooh.
All right.
And my glass is, sadly, they just got knocked out of the NCAA tournament to Gonzaga again for like the third or fourth year. However, my UCLA Bruins are still my tried and true, and I bleed blue and gold. So I'm wearing this. I'm drinking out. I have not drank yet. Believe it or not.
So make sure you don't drink too much or you will wear it.
Yes, I will. And I have a stem, so I have to be very careful.
This is going to be a mess.
Very careful.
It's already going to be
say that. Don't say that, Heather.
Knock on wood. Hi, I'm Heather, licensed professional counselor and domestic violence survivor. I am drinking, we're back on Talon wines because I have like 6 of these bottles, but we're doing the Pinot Grigio this evening. Yeah, I'm switching. We're both doing something different, Jody. I'm like doing white, you're doing something you don't know. It's going to be great. So yeah, we're just taking walks on wild side today. Oh, and my glass. Okay. So most of my wine glasses are Halloween themed. So I'm sorry that this is a Halloween themed glass, but I'm trying to like change it up so I'm not repeating too much. It says here for the booze, BOOS.
I love that.
That's fine too, because toxic. Boo.
Booze.
Yeah.
It works all the time.
That works.
Hello, I am Ashley Paige, founder of Loving Single, domestic violence survivor and single mom. Tonight I am drinking a new flavor of the Flybird margarita wine cocktail. This week's flavor is prickly pear. Last week fucked me up.
We were both a mess.
Oh my God. Heather and I were so hungover. Like all of Sunday was recuperating, resting, and puking.
Yeah.
Awesome.
For those of you who haven't figured it out, we pre-recorded this on a Friday, so,
that was awesome.
So we could drink like that.
So now that I am fully aware of what
Hours of the
15% alcohol does in comparison to my normal 5 to 8, we'll only be having one glass of this tonight.
Yeah.
And tonight I am drinking from it's to match my life, pretty pink heart with my sippy straw. just in case.
We
Yay.
are all, look at, I'm drinking out of stemmed. You've got your sippy straw. Heather's got her white wine.
Yes. All the
Cheers, ladies.
glasses. Cheers, ladies.
Cheers. Yay, we get to move on to some new topics today.
Wow. Woo, boy. That is
This
strong.
is delicious, by the way.
We love it. This is mine is very sweet, but also very pungent. It's like kick me right in the ass. Let's go.
This is delicious too. I love Pinot Grigio.
Love
It's
it.
my favorite white for sure.
Love. So this week, there is one thing that is predominant in the news, and it is the banning of TikTok. And I think it's an excellent topic for us because as survivors, we are accustomed to people attempting to silence us, especially over the last couple of weeks. And also, I think it's great to discuss with listeners how abuse tactics work the same on every level, whether it's inside the home, in a romantic relationship, abusive parents, family members, all the way up to the government. So let's make sense of the senseless.
If anybody watched the hearings, they'll understand it a whole lot more, what we're talking about.
I think a lot of people did watch them, especially they were on like if you were on TikTok, it was all over the place on TikTok. Every live was that hearing. So
and one of the things that they pointed out, almost every creator that talked about it was, and even the news, because I was watching MSNBC on TikTok and another news channel outlet on TikTok that was covering it, and they said it wasn't about anything but these guys getting a soundbite. They just wanted to get their moment on TV, get a soundbite in there, as ridiculous as the things that they said. Like, why does TikTok need to know where your eyes are when they put sunglasses on you?
But the entire thing was preposterous, right? Because first of all, as an American citizen, I was so embarrassed, first of all, to call myself an American, knowing that these are the people we've elected into office to represent us. Secondly, I was humiliated by their lack of knowledge. They don't even know what fucking Wi-Fi is. And the simple fact of they didn't provide any actual proof.
Right.
Which is typical of what we see when we're dealing with narcissistic, abusive personalities. There's no actual proof. There's no actual evidence. It's all of this pandering to further their own agenda and creating this crazy narrative in order to instill fear tactics, intimidation, and control.
I do want to say before we continue, this is not political. We are not getting into politics, which side, this and that. No, we are looking at this from the view of toxicity from anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter. We're not going to get into, well, it's because
you can't even get into that because it's a bipartisan issue. Every side, like both sides were unanimously inept and idiots. Like just buffoonery,
toxic buffoonery. Because it was like watching the CEO of TikTok basically be abused by a bunch of toxic buffoons who are scapegoating TikTok over fear, like supposed fears about national security and data and things, when that problem is actually a much greater problem that belongs to not just TikTok, but Facebook and Instagram and everything. But TikTok gets to be the scapegoat, which is
because TikTok is Chinese.
Well, and what's interesting about it is, I don't know if you guys saw the video of shows talking about the CEO talking about how he actually met his wife
Oh,
Not
in
only he
Virginia.
was born in Singapore, and then he
Mhm.
went to school
Here.
in Europe, and then he traveled to the United States. That's where he met his wife
In Virginia, very
in
close to
Virginia,
Washington.
and like about all of the measures that they've taken, about how China doesn't own TikTok.
Project Texas. He talked about Project Texas, explaining that everything goes into American, and the guy from Texas says, stop using the name Texas. We don't want you doing or using Texas to represent Chinese stuff.
Yeah.
Which is so absurd, because if you think about it, that like, where do our phones come from?
Right.
Where I mean, and not only that, but like, if you're worried about retina scanning, shouldn't you be worried about the iPhone that you lift up to your face to do facial recognition? Like, and you're worried about the gifts that people send people during a live, like just the absolute lunacy.
Yeah.
Not only that, but in Texas, Project Texas is where our data is supposed to be going, on American soil with American workers. They didn't name it Project Texas just because they picked a state. It's because that's where it's located. That's where Oracle is located, in Texas. And Oracle is where they're putting all of the data to be overseen, if you will, by American. But he explained that, but just like in any toxic relationship, you can explain the truth. But what is the toxic person going to do? Not about the truth.
No, it's not about the truth. And then they tried to say it's about protecting our children. I'm just curious,
Like, where they give a fuck.
Where the fuck were they during the entire Balenciaga scandal? Where the fuck have they been in regards to child trafficking, child exploitation? Where the fuck are they when it comes to the foster care system? They're not concerned about our children. They were utilizing their children and their poor parenting and placing the blame on TikTok, which is hilarious to me.
There's a picture of a gun that my kids are gonna see. Like, your kids see guns every day.
And if you don't want them to see guns, then ban guns. I mean,
stop lobbying for guns. Stop lobbying for guns if that's your fucking concern. Instead of what about all the movies we see guns in? What about all the movies? What about all like fucking
video games? We're gonna ban video games. They've always been a problem.
Like music videos, or the conversation. Like, let's talk about our children. The conversation I've had multiple times about the game Roblox.
Yeah.
And what that's doing, not because the game itself is bad, but because of child predators coming into the game and luring our children. What about that?
And I'm not, okay, people might hate me for this. I don't care. I still stand by this. Like, one of the Congress people or whatever said, well, if my child, and how do you explain to my child? It's like, I'm sorry. TikTok is not the parent. You are the parent. And if your child is on TikTok all day long and you have no clue what's going on, that's on you. And it's not on TikTok to say, I'm sorry, get off now. It's on you to know what the fuck your kids are doing. And that's why there's parental controls on phones too.
Well, I mean, let's go all the way into it. What is the pandemic, the epidemic that's currently happening in the United States right now? Fentanyl.
Yep.
Where's all the lobbyists and our politicians in regards to what's killing what's actually killing our kids right now? Where are they? No, they're concerned about TikTok. And the reality is they're not concerned about the safety of TikTok. They're not concerned about national security. They're not concerned about any. What they're concerned with is the fact that all of these American dollars are being spent on TikTok. All of our watch time is being spent on TikTok, not watching their fake news, paying attention to their controlled narrative on the media. Well, that's what they're concerned with.
Who said, yes,
where's my money? When am I going to get paid?
That was hysterical.
China shouldn't be getting paid. I should be getting paid. Oh, and I'm sorry, why should you be getting paid now, Mr. Congressman or whatever the fuck you are?
Yeah.
What have
Well,
you done?
Well, and I mean, even going back to what we've been talking about the last 3 weeks and being silenced and kind of dealing with a narcissistic, predatorial human being, is that the main concern is the fact that people are utilizing their voices, that they are putting information out to the public, and the public is gobbling it up on both sides, whether it's, and that's what I love about TikTok is our ability to, we don't need to talk about shadow banning and, videos being suppressed, but the reality is that people have a say on TikTok, whether it's conspiracy theories, right wing, left wing, just ridiculousness, talking about abuse, toxic relationships, like I said, child loss, mental health. And there's a lot of misinformation on that app, but there's a lot of misinformation in the media.
Yeah.
Okay, I will be honest, and I'm the first one to say I fought tooth and nail to never be on TikTok. I remember my brother during the pandemic was telling me that he was addicted to TikTok, just scrolling and stuff. And I'm like, I will not put that on my phone until my colleague asked me to do it. And then because I really thought TikTok was dances and stupid shit. And when I got on TikTok, I was like, wow, this is, if you look for it, you don't even have to look for it. You look one time and then your algorithm's going to send you to it. But
they created the best algorithm in the world. That's for sure.
So much information. I mean, you have PBSs on there. You have politicians that are on there. You have companies that are on there. Like I said to someone, oh yeah, I'm on TikTok, I'm so embarrassed. And they're like, don't be embarrassed. It was an attorney. And he said, I'm on there too. So I literally thought it was just kids, but you have all genders, ethnicities, races, professions, everyone on there. Not all the information is correct, but like you said, not all the information that you get on the news is correct. But I got so much. I mean, I was telling my friends, haven't you heard of this? Haven't you seen this? And then it would come out later in the mainstream news, but I got so much information. TikTok surprised the shit out of me. And that's what these people in Congress also, this is another tactic. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You've never been, done, tried, had, whatever. And now you're telling me that you know everything.
Yep. That's how they are. Professional gaslighters. And the nice thing about Show, like, during that whole thing was that he has mastered the art of not being emotionally reactive to these people that are jumping down his throat, and his ability to gray rock essentially a bunch of bullies was really impressive to me. He tried his damnedest to have his voice in that whole thing, even though they continued to talk over him and interrupt him and just tell him at one point that he was living in a mystical world, like total gaslight.
He said, can I answer the question? And they said, no, your time's up.
I reclaim my time. I reclaim my time. I heard I reclaim my time one more time. I'm getting it tattooed somewhere because it's apparently that special of a statement.
It's so typical though. It's like, let me explain. No. Because even if you try to explain, I'm not listening anyways. I already know what I want to know. The narrative that you give me is not my narrative. And therefore I refuse to even believe it, listen to it, give you the opportunity. And every time you try, that's another thing they did. He would say something and they would be, again, deflect.
Or they would say yes or no, just a yes, like for a question that is going to have a nuanced answer, they limited it to yes or no and wouldn't let him elaborate on anything.
No.
And so nobody got any information from this.
Yeah. Does it access Wi-Fi? Yes. See there. Okay. Right there.
His reaction to does TikTok access my Wi-Fi network was so great. Like his face was like, am I being punked right now? Like, is this for real?
He
Well,
put out
and
another video today that was very impressive as well. Because
It
I
was-
thought if it was me, I would just fucking be ripping into everybody.
He did
But he
such
was-
a good job. He was just like, I may not understand your question.
well, and his, the thing that's really backfiring on the US government right now is what they've done is they tried to vilify, and this happens all the time. The narcissist, the abuser, they're trying to vilify the actual victim or the hero or whomever. They're trying to vilify them. And the American public is watching this. And what I saw today was so much love for show, like just insane. Like, we love show, like save TikTok. Everyone unanimously was just, oh my God, I don't even want to say I'm an American. Like,
so embarrassing.
Can I, and the truth is like, a lot of people, I saw comments being like, I'm Chinese now. Like I'm moving to China. Like I hate America. Even to the point where what they're creating, and perhaps this is intentional, what they're actually, if they ban it, what they're creating is an actual rebellion and a revolution of people saying, no, will not. Because I saw so many different posts today on people saying, here's how to get around the TikTok ban. Here's how you get your own VPN, and here's how you get an international VPN, and here's how you go around this. And so they're really kind of like on their lone island with their little flying monkeys. And at the root of all of this is Mark Zuckerberg and his paid lobbyists going to our representatives and telling them, here's what you're going to do. But at the back end, there's 150 million Americans that use TikTok that are saying, I'm voting you out of office.
And they're not going to use fucking Facebook or Instagram either. Nice try, Zuck.
Which is difficult. And I'm going to be honest, like I hate Facebook and I don't go on there very often. And I'm not a huge fan of Instagram. I left Instagram to go to TikTok because I felt like I couldn't be myself. But the truth is, for a lot of people, I know I'm not alone. I have 20 years of memories, posts. That's where my advocacy started. I'm not going, like, I don't want to delete my Facebook for the simple reason it's like an online diary for me.
It is like a lot of memories for sure. I agree with you on that.
And that's another thing on TikTok is like everybody's videos. For some, it is a growth and a journey and all of that. And it's like, oh, so now I have to download each and every one of them if there's hundreds, if not for some people, thousands, and put them all over again. But it's not even about, I mean, just watching. If you've never, and hopefully you never have been in a toxic relationship, you have just witnessed, if you watch this, somebody being silenced. The same techniques that a narcissist, NPD narcissist uses. And every time he goes to answer a question, and then when he answers it correctly, which, it's like, do you do this? No, we don't. It's like, well, that doesn't matter. We're going to go to this.
Or they just blatantly were like, you're a liar.
Yeah. So it's either we're going to pretend we didn't hear it because it doesn't fit our narrative, or we're just going to outright say that you lied, or we're going to change the subject to a different subject matter.
Like my ex did that shit to me all the time.
It's very much, it was a publicized, televised, large scale Darvo.
It really was.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, it was just, I was like, this is exactly what my ex did to me. This is exactly what's been happening to Heather. This is exactly what has happened to countless people who have been in toxic relationships. So if you were sitting there watching the trial and you're like, why do I feel triggered? Why does this feel relevant? Why is this so familiar? Because it's just a larger scale of the abuse tactics that they use in order to silence us and control us.
Yep.
And anybody who felt sad, sorry, any kind of feelings for a show that's never been in a toxic relationship and never believed a person in a toxic relationship, if you had those kind of feelings like, oh my God, what he's going through, have those feelings now. When someone tries to tell you it's not worth the argument, I can't argue, this is what happened. Understand now, hopefully better, what we've all been through, what a person who, when we talk about Darvo, what we mean.
Mm-hmm.
I felt so bad. If that were me, I would have had such a hard time restraining myself.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. And this is where I want to bring up, because somebody had said to me that they were complaining about their significant other, saying that they were abusive. When the significant other laid hands on them, they were saying it was reactive abuse. And I said, I don't know the whole story, so I can't say if it is or isn't or whatever. But an example of reactive abuse would have been if Sho would have got up and started screaming back at them and losing his mind.
Yeah.
Because that's how reactive abuse happens. If you thought, oh my God, how is that guy taking it and being so calm and so respectful and so zen, then you understand.
But you know what? I mean, he did appear zen, but as a survivor, I could see, it was very apparent to me, his frustration of not being heard and his frustration on their selective, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Their selective idiocracy. On, like, it was intentional. And you could see that, like, just like,
yeah,
there was that very apparent, I could read him and being like, there's no way that these people have been elected into office and they don't understand how Wi-Fi works. They are like just the frustration. And I understand that, especially the last several months, of just the frustration of how obvious it is that they have no leg to stand on. They have no actual point of reference, and they're just continuing to push the end goal of, no matter how much evidence is brought to the table. Even he called out Facebook. If we're worried about safety, let's talk about what's happened with Facebook and their breach of privacy and release of information for their users. And it was just met with continual resistance. But I do have to say, it was commendable, his ability to control that, like, emotional, just that heightened, you know, I mean, because I was getting anxiety watching it. I was like, I can't watch this anymore. This is overwhelming. Like, I want to puke.
Yeah.
You know,
me too. I was like watching it between clients. Like, this is
another thing that they did that an MPD will do. If you listened, they kept saying China, you're China, and this is from China. And it's like, okay, let's talk about what we're supposed to talk about. But instead, they just kept bringing up China,
fear mongering
from China, and CCP and China. And the thing is, even when it was not part of the narrative, they brought it up. And that's, again, what an NPD will do. I'm going to keep talking about this. Yep. So that you don't talk about the facts. Like, well, you did this, you did this, you did this. No, that never, ever happened. That's not part of it. Yes, you did this. And they'll keep going back to the same thing that they want their narrative to be. Like, well, you cheated. No, I didn't. Well, you cheated. And they'll keep bringing that up, even though you're like, but I didn't. Let's talk about this. But you cheated. They'll weave it into the conversation in every chance they can, when it's totally irrelevant.
Or it never fucking even happened. And like, they love to accuse people of things that aren't even fucking happening. That's what abusers love to do. My ex used to do that all the time to me. Just accuse me of shit that was never happening. Accuse me of cheating on him and come at me with what he thought, what he said was evidence that was not actually evidence. And when I would tell him, hey, like, this is actually what this is, and I'm not cheating on you between clients at work, that's like ridiculous. Then he would say, he would Darvo it and say that I was gaslighting him and calling him crazy when he wasn't. And I was like, no, that's not what gaslighting is. Gaslighting is making you feel crazy when you're not. you are fucking crazy. Like that's different. And he would try and play those games with me all the time. And like that whole hearing was just like this game, this like mind fuck. And Show was like not really, I love how his name is Show, by the way, like that makes my whole day. But like he was really good at emotionally regulating. And I think part of that too was that he had people sitting behind him supporting him. Like, and even they were saying like, it's nice to have people behind you, isn't it? Like to just kind of not only attack him, but attack the people that were supporting him in the room to make them all shake up. It was really a gross power move, but they all like part of, I think his regulation was to have support. And like, that's why I've said this whole time, like get that support system in line. Yeah. If you're in some sort of toxic relationship, because that's going to be what gets you out and supports your voice and supports the truth and the reality of your situation.
But here's also how they use stuff to weaponize. Again, he's from Singapore, studied in Europe, married an American, and all they kept bringing up was China.
Yeah.
All they kept bringing up was China.
So
and that's
absurd.
like, you know, what
ECP is getting all of our data.
When people say don't tell all your traumas to a narcissist or an MPD, because they will weaponize them against you. So the fact that he is representing China, if you will, they're going to weaponize that against him. So just like Heather, you had this, you're a meth addict.
You're a big old meth head.
Well, I mean, but the thing is, he's not representing China. He's representing his company, his business,
his privately owned fucking company.
So China is irrelevant. I mean, so what? Now we're going to
TikTok. Representing TikTok is irrelevant. Him representing China is what they're trying to tell you is actually happening.
Well, of course it is. Just like with what we've been talking about the last few weeks, that the point of discussion and the topic that's at hand isn't the predatory, inappropriate behavior. It's about, I'm the victim, I'm scared. That has nothing to fucking do with it. There's nothing to fucking do with it. So what? But the real thing is that the bills that they're trying to pass, they're utilizing TikTok as an example, just like what's been done to me recently and what's been done to Heather, is they're utilizing it as an example. But the root of the issue is our freedom of speech. That's what they're really going after, because I looked at the bill and it's terrifying. And if Mark Zuckerberg was really paying attention, he would recognize that what they're really coming after is social media on a large entire scale. They're coming after our ability to speak openly and share our opinions and share our minds and share our experiences. And they want to control 300 million Americans' narratives and what they can and cannot say. That's what's at the root of all of this. Just like when you're going through vexatious litigation and they're coming after you for a false charge. And then what the point of it is to silence the entire group.
When you think about someone wanting to keep, your ex is wanting to keep you from all your friends so that they have control. And that's what they do when a narcissistic and NPD will try to isolate you and triangulate you. Your friends are the ones that are causing you the problem. So you shouldn't be hanging out with your friend. So that way you become dependent on them. Well, TikTok is everybody's friend. The TikTok is for a narcissistic person. Your friends are the ones that are telling you, this might not be the best idea. You might not want to stay with him. He might, or she might be abusive. TikTok is that in their minds. So if we can keep that away from the people, if we can keep everybody else's outside influence to everybody else, then we keep them separated, then it's more control, it's more power. Because if I'm not allowed to share with 150 million people and get 150 million people's opinions, I have to form my own, right or wrong. And I have no one to bounce that off with or to.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and I mean the banning of TikTok would be catastrophic, and for many reasons. There's over 5 million businesses that are on TikTok. There's over 7,000 American employees that work for TikTok. There's, a lot of people that utilize TikTok as a form of income and revenue, not to mention the amount of people like myself that utilize TikTok as a form of therapy, and also a way to build community. How many people have come online when they're in emotional distress and they've shared their stories and they've been able to connect with others instead of inflicting self-harm. Now, there are like nuances and negative things that TikTok has seen, but that's like that with everything. And of course, the only thing that they're going to look like, just with the same with any abuser, they're going to pinpoint those very small percentages of any type of anything bad that's happened that has anything to do with TikTok. And they're going to be like villain, 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 villain in order to try and silence it. And it's just, I can't even with them.
And your Congress people will gaslight you too, because I wrote mine and got an email back today that that was immediately the first line after she like schmoozes me, is, as a Chinese company, TikTok is subject to laws that allow the Chinese government to access user data. This creates credible security concerns, as the Chinese Communist Party is able to utilize this information for intelligence of disinformation purposes, which is underlined.
Okay, so what about all the data that's being collected on us with American companies?
Right. That
Or
doesn't matter.
What
Company.
But
Sorry.
listen, TikTok isn't the only Chinese owned company. What about all the car companies? They have access to my social security number, like all these dealerships, and
They
like
have my data forever.
Heather, Ashley, have you, because I know I have received a shit ton, I can't even count anymore. Ever received a letter from big and small companies saying, oh, there was a data breach or information might have been part of that?
Yeah.
And it's from companies
in America
everywhere.
Yeah.
And then he's fucking out there.
The end of her lengthy email, trying to scare me away from China, and the CCP is, thank you again for sharing your concerns with me. As always, I encourage all constituents to continue to share their concerns with me by contacting my office or connecting with me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram.
Of course, she doesn't have TikTok.
I'm like,
a lot of them do, though.
I'm like, that's because those companies just paid you a shit ton of money to say that.
You're muted.
Listen to this. There are over, as of January 9th, 2023, there are 252 Chinese companies listed on these US exchanges with a total market capitalization of $1.03 trillion that are listed on the New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, and the NYSE American, the three largest US exchanges. So what?
So why
we're going to get rid of all 252 of these companies that are listed?
How many of them have our data?
Yeah.
How many of them have any data from us? None of them, really? I don't believe that.
The absurdity of all of this is it, and that's the point, though, is gaslighting, blame shifting, word salad, confusion, topsy-turvy, swirly, like you said, Jody, deception. Deflection. In order, and the truth is that there might be a handful of politicians lobbying right now and trying to pass this bill, but the reality of it is there are 150 million Americans, 50% of the population, that are demanding that TikTok not go anywhere. And it is kind of scary to think of what will happen.
Yeah, because when I think of what we have done, in our history and in our getting our voices back and people's attempts to silence us, the attempts to essentially silence 150 million Americans, like like all at once, like that seems like, yeah, that seems like a pretty scary endeavor. If you ask me,
it is terrifying because, but it's also, it's scary, but it's also slightly exciting and exhilarating to, I mean, just like you mentioned, Heather, with us and what we've been going through the last 6 months, there's been a lot of terror, but there's also been this like camaraderie and unity of us fighting back to take our voices. But when you think about all the scary things we've seen going on with our government, and you think of 150 million Americans pushing back, and how the government might push back towards the people, and what more of our liberties are they going to try and take in order to make sure that this happens? What are they going to do when people start getting their own VPNs with international, placements so that they can join TikTok? How are they going to punish us for trying to utilize TikTok? What are the consequences going to be? What's the backlash? Because we know one thing: when you push back against an abuser, all hell breaks loose.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is scary to think about.
The really interesting thing, as you were saying, that was fascinating to me, is like, with every narcissist, well, NPD, toxic relationship, there comes a point where the abused says, "Oh, fuck no, I'm done with this."
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't, it all depends on what it takes and how long, but there is a point where they say, "This is fucking done." And it's just kind of interesting to see if TikTok is going to be that point. In this, of all the things going on, if TikTok is going to be the downfall.
I'm going to straw that breaks the camel's back.
I honestly think it will be. I mean, because if you think about what the country has gone through, and the world for that matter, but specifically the US since 2020, we're done.
And we value our freedom of speech across the board. Like, that's not something you can fuck with on any side. So.
No, and we are known for all over the world for our liberty and our right to freedom of speech and our right to freedom of assembly. Like, I even saw an article on multiple churches and ministries that are like, this is where we started our churches. This is our congregation. This is on TikTok. And if you take this away from the people, you're doing like insurmountable damage, like it's so much larger than what we could even possibly conceive.
And they sit and say, but the mental health of people, and as a mental health professional, I can tell you that for a lot of people, I don't condone diagnosing yourself on TikTok via TikTok, but taking that information to a professional. Many people were isolated and never ever thought about going to a mental health professional, but seeing it normalized on TikTok, and even if they're not going, connecting with some of the mental health professionals and asking questions. I know, me personally, I have had people message me saying that in part because of my lives and or videos, they have made a therapy appointment. And that was on TikTok.
Yeah. I don't like, I have, there's a lot of women who have been abuse survivors, domestic violence survivors, and some of those women are close to me and my friends. But like, when I was initially coming out of that relationship after he went to prison, I was really isolated. And so I got on TikTok and like immediately found a whole community of people, including you two, that like got what I had gone through and validated that experience for me and made me feel less crazy and brought me community. There's a lot of obviously toxic shit that has come out of TikTok, a lot of misinformation and otherwise, but there's also a lot of like good people on there and licensed professionals on there and doctors and lawyers who are like battling that misinformation and doing what they can to support other people. And it just sucks. The whole fucking idea of it leaving sucks.
When you have, what did he say, 3 billion people at any one time on TikTok, I think was the number that he had worldwide, something like 3 billion. Now, so yes, it affects 150 million of us in America, but we are also conversing with and connecting with across the world. Like I have people that I talk to that are in Germany, that are in Italy, that are in Ireland, stuff like that, you know, it's not just we're going to be gone for the people in the US. It's we're going to be gone for the people around the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And for some of those people, it is a lifeline. I have people that say to me in their country, it is hard to get mental health. It's easy to get mental health, but it's hard to get good mental health. And they've been diagnosed 8 different times by 8 different people and on. And they come on TikTok and they're like, I don't think I really have that. So how is it in the United States? And people want to know, and I want to know how it is in other countries.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I think he said 3 billion. That's a lot of people that are going to be, there's some that never ever care about the United States stuff and they just stay within their country. But for the most part, I see stuff from all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
There's one girl that does, she's a big creator. She's in Africa, Nigeria. And she said, she made a comment, because when I commented on shows things, she made a comment that the vast majority, she has a couple million, whatever, several million followers. She said the vast majority are in the United States that follow her. So like, we're not going to take away business just from people in the United States. We're going to take away business from people in other places too.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, if you're someone who says, I don't give a fuck about other countries and other places, I just care about here, you're also that person who in a toxic relationship says, I don't care, it doesn't affect me.
The majority of your shit was made in China.
But you know, it's like, I don't care if it's going to affect somebody in Africa. What the fuck do I care? I don't care that you're being abused.
We're all connected.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even if you think about, for example, you know, the revolution that was taking place in Iran after Masa Amini, the impact and the difference that the United States made in creating an extraordinary amount of noise over the injustice that was taking place, not only with her death, but the thousands of other deaths of Iranians there, and what was happening with the women and the children and the men that were standing up for women's rights. Like, America is known for being the voices of people all around the world.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know, we may only be 150 million out of the 3 billion, but our voices are very loud, and the rest of the world in many cases looks to the United States to be their voice. And so it is a huge hit to not just American citizens, but to the world population, of our ability to speak out about things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And to just completely shut us off. And if they think that everyone's going to go to Facebook and to Instagram, I'm not going to go post on Facebook because to be completely honest with you, I fucking hate that app. It's very politically charged.
But it's not even even the same thing.
Divisive.
No,
You're-
I can't.
It's a totally different
Yeah.
platform. So
No.
TikTok is its own platform. Instagram is totally different. And you could go to Reels. It's not the same thing.
It's
TikTok
still not
is
the
very,
same.
very unique.
It's
in what
very
it does.
unique. And, you know, the vast majority of people will likely go to a place like Clapper or
Yeah.
YouTube to continue speaking out, because it is YouTube is always going to be the big dog regardless. You're not going to get rid of YouTube. But like I said, it's not just, a lot of people are misconstruing the fact that it's not, like I said, it's not just the banning of TikTok, it's the passing of the bill that matters.
Yeah.
And the bill will affect our ability to utilize our free speech and our voices on any social media platform.
If you, and I cannot speak. Under the Desk News on TikTok, she was there at the hearings and she did a very good recap. And she works for the LA Times now. She got her job with the LA Times by doing Under the Desk News on TikTok. But she has a whole rundown of what that bill is. And it is, if you don't want to read it, she does a good rundown. And it's very frightening. It's very frightening. It's, again, to put it in NPD toxic relationship, it's like saying, I'm telling you, you can't go out tonight with your friends. But what I'm really telling you is I don't want you ever going out on any night or day with your friends after this.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I have this control over you right now, I don't stop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very much, it reminds me of a piece of paper I received that said, not only are you going to not be able to talk to these people, but you also cannot talk to these people, and you also cannot talk about this. In effect, I'm going to take away everything that you care to talk about, and you can't talk about it. Not even publicly,
you can even tell,
but privately.
Yeah. So I'm not only taking away what you can say, but I'm taking away who you could even say it to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my question is this, is in the event that TikTok does get banned, there's going to be a lot of mental health crises. A lot of people, this is going to be detrimental to the population of America predominantly. What are like some things that people can do in order to emotionally like regulate themselves? Because this is going to be a bad. So what are like some precautions that we can take in the event that this bill does get passed?
One thing, this is just in general. I did a video a while ago on how to have a healthy relationship with social media. And part of that is to be taking breaks from social media in the first place and go outside and cultivate actual in real life friendships. And I know for a lot of these people, it's really hard for them to do that. And their friendships are virtual. But I encourage those, and I know sounds like a broken record, but I encourage those people, go to therapy if you have social anxiety, and if you have anxiety over this at all. And what you're going to do, go to therapy, talk it over with your therapist. But there are other avenues. I know some people in the comment section of some videos said, how can I continue to get a hold of you? I read it in a lot of comments of a lot of people's videos. Hey, are you going to be somewhere else? Is there a way I can get a hold of you? Try reaching out to, you can't reach out to every person that you follow, but reach out to some of the ones that have important information or whatever that you follow for that, and see if they're going to be on another platform.
A lot of them are.
Most of them are, yeah. Most of them are already on other platforms, but don't always post. Like I know I have a YouTube account that I posted on, and then I deleted everything because I was like, why am I doing this, and this? So I just focused on TikTok. But find out if they're going to be other places. And also, again, try it. I sound like a parent. Try to cultivate relationships outside of. And if you have a really hard time doing that, go to therapy. If you have social anxiety, go to therapy. Because I know, especially with the pandemic, I have a lot of clients saying, I don't really have any friends anymore. You know, every one of my friends, they're virtual. I don't go out. And so we look at other things like, what are their interests? Are there meetup groups? Are there other things to do? Because in reality, we shouldn't make TikTok or any social media our life and our lifeblood. But, you know, we all know that there are people that do. And if you went on TikTok for mental health reasons and that was your coping, then again, then go to therapy.
We got to find some other coping.
Yeah.
But
it is going to be a loss. It is a grieving process as well, which is also a good reason to go to therapy. I know I sound like a broken record, but therapy isn't a cure-all. Therapy does not fix you. You have to do the work, but therapy will help you to do the work.
Yeah, I think for the majority of people, we're going to find another way to get our social and entertainment needs met. And my suggestion is that we do it in the healthiest way possible. Like Jody said, this shouldn't be the end all be all of our lives anyway. If it is, that's already probably problematic. But if you have a social support system that you're getting from TikTok, get with that system, figure out your plan together, find out where people are going, follow them there. I know for the three of us, we all started Clapper accounts just in case. And then because I'm on Instagram, but I don't use Instagram as a public forum for myself. That's my private Instagram, and I don't plan on doing anything publicly there. But so Clapper would be where I would end up. And obviously we're here on YouTube.
I was going to say, you can always subscribe and follow us here.
You know, obviously we're here, but I think, you know, my major suggestion is if this is the end all be all of your life, then we've already got a problem. And if it's just about getting some needs met, identify what those are. If it's social needs, if it's just entertainment needs, you're going to have to find healthy ways to get those needs met in another way, whether it's going back to Netflix or whether it's and binge watching or whatever it is. We'll always find a way. And I think the other thing is this is going to piss enough people off that we're going to get louder and find another way to either get around it, like with VPNs and whatnot, or do something amazing and revolutionary, because we do that stuff together in this country. So I'm not too worried about it. I mostly just want to make sure that everybody knows it's going to be okay.
Here's the thing. TikTok really took off during the pandemic when everybody was stuck inside and had nothing to do. And the unfortunate thing is so many things have changed since the pandemic. And I know I have a lot of clients who are like, I don't want to go outside anymore. I'm not social anymore. I don't like people anymore. And we've kind of cocooned into social media, whatever platform, being our escape. So perhaps, and some of us forgot how to go out and stuff. So perhaps it's kind of what is it? Oh God, I'm going to think about the word in a minute, but it's one of those things where it's like kind of a kick in the butt it's like, maybe it is time to get back to, in a sense, pre-pandemic. You don't have to socialize as much. You don't have to do as much, but if you weren't on TikTok or any social media at all hours of the day and night before the pandemic, now it's over for the most part. Yes, for immunocompromised and stuff, have to wear masks and be careful and everything still. So it's a little different. But by that same token, try to start to venture out of that cocoon again might be something to consider. Maybe. I know it sounds
I mean, but the truth is I think a lot of people have created a dependency on social media. So, I think that, I think it is a good idea I'm going to be totally honest with you. I think it's a great idea for people to try and venture out regardless. But I think that there is, because of this dependency, and also in many ways, it's a form of an addiction for a lot of people. It's a coping mechanism and a comfort blanket. That, I think there is a balance. Once you rip something away from someone who thinks that they need something, it's not as simple as just going outside, especially like, I know for myself and a lot of other people who've been in toxic relationships or have mental health issues, that the reason that social media is so great is it kind of allows us the ability to connect without the physical connection. And there is a certain barricade, a safety barrier of us between people and relationships because it's online. So I think it's just going to be interesting, to be honest with you.
It is.
When you get out of any relationship, it's almost like you have to find your own identity again as a different person, as you, not a we, and in social media being the we. So you do maybe have to reinvent and rediscover things that you liked before. Get out there, be active. We are so sadly, though, addicted to our phones for so many things. And so it's also getting off the grid for a little bit. The really shitty thing, like I went on a cruise, and I love going on cruises in part because I don't need my phone. And now they've changed the cruise such as you need your phone for everything. The menus are on the phone. To get in touch with other people, it's on your phone. To find out what's going on during the day. And so we're carrying our phones. And at dinner time, everybody's on their phone at the menu. And it's like, we need to get away from that and start to, again, learn how to reconnect face to face with people. That's kind of hard, but kind of figuring out who we are outside of social media, who we used to be before social media, because it wasn't around. For some people, it was around since the day they were born. Then they probably shouldn't be on social media at this point anyways. I don't know. I don't even want to know how many years it's been, because then I'll probably
It's like, nah,
it's been enough, because
it's been enough.
Facebook was around it's been 20 years.
Yeah. It's been around for a lot of people.
But I think though, like, I think that it's a process. And I think, like you said, Dr. Jody, is just like reaching out to, getting a therapist or getting, professional help, and for me, it's like a lot of us learn how to overcome social anxiety, mental health problems, and the such online. So it's kind of a catch-22. But nonetheless, we're still going to be here. We're going to be doing our podcast. We'll be on YouTube, and who knows what's going to happen. The one thing I've learned enduring and surviving toxic relationships, control, and abuse is you have to just determine to keep going regardless. And you have to find a way to continue to use your voice, even if the route that you were on gets shut down. You have to be willing to take detours and to be going in other directions and just find the way. So I would just really encourage anyone that's feeling overwhelmed by this. That's what I did, is if I can't utilize this path, then I will find another path that I can utilize. And if I can't go this way or talk to these people, then I will build a bridge over here. And you have to survivorship is really about being resilient and determining to keep going no matter what comes your way, and to overcome no matter what tries to stop you and hinder you. And that resiliency is what allows us to continue moving forward.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of times when, what is it that when one door closes, another opens, something else might come up to take this place if this is gone. So, and who knows, somebody that's on TikTok right now and really upset may be the one to discover it or invent it or create it or whatever the word may be. But again, social media should not be your end all be all. It should be a starting point. So if you and for those people, like, this is a great opportunity for those people who have like social anxiety. If you have commented and you kind of, I know I have people in my comments that comment to each other and kind of already kind of know each other because they follow the same people and everything. So you could probably do a video saying, hey, do you want to do a support group? Here's a Zoom link. We could do a support group, once a week.
And we have
a support group.
And we have a support group every Saturday morning
This
at
is my
10 a.m.
This is my handoff.
We do have a support group every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. for women. And we don't just talk about toxic relationships. We talk about all things life, womanhood, parenting, relationships, love, and we just keep going. And also this is an opportunity for a lot of people to really find their voice and use their voice, because there is going to be, like you said, there comes a point in every toxic relationship. And right now the government has a toxic, abusive, controlling relationship with its people. And we're about to witness the people take their power back. And it is power to the people. And so this is going to be really interesting for us to see how people respond to our abusive dictator, not our democracy, and how we declare that we're going to have our voice and we're going to have our power and you can't stop us. And it happens, we've all gone through it with our abusive exes, and there comes a point when we say, damn it, I'm done with you. And I think we're about to witness that.
History.
Yeah. So, yeah, with that being said.
Okay.
Yeah.
With that being said,
take your power back and use your voice, people.
Yeah.
And again, I've said this week after week, and I'm going to keep saying this until we actually do it. We are going to be doing my dirty little secrets, which is our relationship dirty little secrets that we at one point really thought we were going to take to
I don't know if I have any.
No, I do.
Oh,
No, I have like zero secrets.
They can also be the damn stupid shit that's
okay. I have plenty of that.
Talk about, but it's our own relationship. If you want to contribute, if you have a dirty little secret, please leave it in the comments below, or wcwycw1@gmail, or lovingsingle.co/podcast.
How much have you had, Jody?
I've had about a regular glass full.
I feel like I don't even get through very much.
Yeah, I can't speak regardless.
Hush.
But lovingsingle.co/podcast. Leave your comments, leave your wine recommendations, leave your glass recommendations, leave your dirty little secrets. We are also going to be talking about online dating. Whenever I talk about this stuff, and then I end up dreaming about the stories that I want to talk about. I'm like, why am I having this dream? Oh yeah, because I said something about online dating. That's why I dreamt about this guy that I haven't thought about in forever. So we're going to talk about online dating. So if you have any really funny online dating stories, again, if you want us to use your name or a pseudonym, yeah, then leave that. If you want to just remain anonymous, don't even want to say anything, you just want to tell us and you don't want us to talk about it, that is fine too.
Tell us what you do want to talk about.
Tell
We
us
could
what
talk
you want.
about that too.
Yes, suggestions for topics too.
Yes. Well,
We
you
have-
guys, here we go. I have a sneaky suspicion next week's going to be epic.
Yeah, we might have some crazy updates next week for you too. We don't have any this week because everything's been dead in the water. So I
will
haven't been
say
arrested for 500 felonies yet. So
our upcoming topics too. We have a podcast on eating disorders. We have a podcast on our empaths real. We have a podcast on CPTSD. So we have several podcasts coming up that you want to stay tuned. Click the subscribe.
Click the subscribe button to get notified of when we have new episodes. And we love you guys.
And
Love
honestly,
ya.
I do this in therapy all the time. I tell my clients, all the time. So this is not alcohol. This is
Jody. It's just Jody.
This is sadly Jody. Yes. So this is
Love you guys.
Love you.
Cheers.
Cheers.